something transiting from O level to A level. I'm imagining you've never studied the French Revolution. European history is one of the papers that schools prefer to teach. I think that's why we are here this morning. This is because much of the events that made history in Europe are what the world rotates on or moves on today, including the COVID-19 of 2020 and probably the Ukraine-Russia war of 2022. There is no reasonable reason as to why many schools prefer teaching modern European history, but the fact lies behind its beginning with the study of one of the most interesting events that makes modern Europe, that is the French Revolution of 1789. There is a myth that we shall soon prove. And what is the myth? That if a student does not understand the French Revolution, then the whole European history becomes a menace. No, menace is a problem to his or her career in history. So whether that is true or wrong, the truth is that the French Revolution has to be understood if history of modern Europe is going to be enjoyed and grasped. That is one of the points that I'm making. With this, I provide a simple essay anyway. I'm just reading words of the pamphlet I was trying to write, Understanding the French Revolution. So if a student can understand, then history of Europe will be like drinking water that is already in a glass. I have also used the causes of, and we may not go that. It should be noted that the French Revolution was and is one of the greatest imperative events that sparked off the history of modern Europe. To me, Europe did not have history until the outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789. Anyway, all these words are just pointing to one thing, that if we do not understand the French Revolution, we may never understand European history. And if that is true, then we really have to understand it beginning from the roots. Maybe that is the reason as to why very many scholars think that when France coughs, Europe catches fire. And when France sneezes, Europe catches cold. That is very true. Such statements, we are going to see them as we proceed studying European history. So that is a forward that I wanted us to make. In fact, we are going to realize that at the eve of the French Revolution, most of the countries that made up Europe had several aspects in common. But the most interesting thing is that a revolution happened only in France. It never happened in Russia, not in Prussia, not in Britain, not in Austria. I have cough. That's why I'm distancing myself. Not in Austria, but in France. And we are going to start asking the question, why? Isn't it? Why? Anyway, let us move to the introduction. So, introduction to European history. I know you have studied this, but you will bear with me. The history of modern Europe starts with the French Revolution of 1789. It is therefore true to state that after the outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789, European history rotates around the history of one country, one event, and one man. Did you know that? All the events that we are going to study starting from 1789 up to 1970, they rotate on only one country, one man, and one event. So I'm going to ask, what is the event? Which country is that? And who is that man? Can I repeat? Okay. The history of modern Europe starts with the French Revolution of 1789. It is therefore true to state that after the outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789, European history rotates around the history of one country, one event, and one man. So I'm asking, who is that man? What is that event? And what is that country? Which country is that? And we are talking of one event. And what is the man? And who is the man anyway? Is it? I'm asking. Is it? King Louis? To you, it is King Louis. And to him, it is Napoleon. And to her, King Louis. King Louis. Yeah, you know, historians can always prove right, even if, isn't it? I'm saying even if, you know, a historian is somebody who can tell you that that is a tax. Yes or no? But for us, we know it is what? It's a hen, isn't it? He says no. That is okay. Let us see. Let us see. Let us see. Look at the futures of a turkey, isn't it? Number one, it has two legs. How many legs are those? Isn't it? It has a beak, isn't it? What is that? Doesn't it have? Anyway, I'm trying to mean, but in most cases, to be a beautiful historian, you must learn to think out of the box. In thinking out of the box, when other people are thinking that that is a hen, for you say no. It can also be a turkey, isn't it? That's thinking out of the box. But in most cases, you must be in line with the content if you're going to think out of the box well. Now, if you've studied up to the directorate government, I've been wondering, you must be knowing that the man we are talking about is Napoleon Bonaparte. Yes or no? And maybe we shall ask Pius to tell us why did he think that it is Napoleon Bonaparte? Isn't it? Mm-hmm. So you tell us. Mm-hmm. By the way, remember we have not even reached there. We are still on introducing the European history. We are going to study the French Revolution. That is my area of interest. Yes. I'm not here for the directorate government. I'm here for the French Revolution. Yeah. I was telling your colleagues, you were not there, that when peasants cry, you expect a revolution. So we don't want to be like King Louis, isn't it? We want to respond to the cries and maybe we clear or postpone the revolution. Yes. So, so you're still talking. So we are still behind. We don't even know whether there is going to be anything called a directorate government. But we have already made an assumption that the history of modern Europe rotates on only three things. one country, one event, and one man. And you have already identified the three people. The event is the French Revolution, the country is France, yet the man himself is Napoleon Bonaparte. So that's why I was wondering, why would we say Napoleon? Yet, when the history begins, Napoleon is not mentioned. However much he was already somewhere growing, isn't it? So I'm asking.
After the French Revolution, after the 1850s,
Mm.
they formed the Authority government. But the Authority government depended
And fraternity, left, and nationalism which were lacking, and these spread throughout Europe and the world at large. However, before we go deep into the French Revolution, it is pertinent to analyze the nature and characteristics of major states before the revolution happened in France. As we do, we shall be tasked to answer the question why the revolution started from France and not any other country in Europe at the time it did. You get it? That is the root. That is the root of the French Revolution and the study of European history. We are saying that in our study, we are supposed to look at it. What are some of the characteristics of the countries that existed at the eve of the French Revolution? And we try to see, and we try to compare it with France. Then at the end, we shall be answering the question of why a revolution started only in France and it never happened in any other country. With the knowledge got from this study, we shall be in a position to try looking for solutions that continue to fit our country, yet we were sometime in history at the same level with great countries like China. Now that was my comment. Don't. So let us look at the nature and characteristics of European states on the eve of the French Revolution. That was in the 17th century. So I want us to look at countries like Austria-Hungary, England, Russia, France, Russia, and how they were before the revolution happened. By 1789, Europe was composed of several states, both big and small. The bigger states exerted a lot of influence and pressure on the small and weaker states. These states were divided into two conceptual regions, the Eastern Europe and Western Europe. So Eastern Europe composed of Russia, Austrian Empire, parts of Turkish Empire, and Eastern Prussia. Western Europe composed of Britain, France, Portugal, Holland, Spain, and the Netherlands. Now, in the future, you're going to talk about uh, the Cold War politics, which begins after the Second World War. You get? And when you start studying the Cold War, you're going to hear so much of the Eastern Western Bloc, Eastern Bloc, Western Bloc. You get? But then we can only understand the Eastern and Western Bloc if we understood the French Revolution. We can only understand the Cold War if we understood the French Revolution. So that's why we are saying that Europe was divided in two major regions, the Eastern region and the Western region. Now, when we talk about the Cold War in the future, talking of the Western Bloc, we are meaning the countries that were in the Western Europe. That is Britain, France, Portugal, Holland, Spain, and the Netherlands. And so many others, of course. Because in the future, even USA joins the Western Bloc. Then the Eastern, we have Russia. That's why she was the premier, the champion of the Eastern Bloc. So Russia, Austrian Empire, some parts of Turkey or Turkish Empire, and some parts of Eastern Prussia. Eastern Prussia. So let us look at England and we see how was England at the eve of the French Revolution. You know, when I say eve, I mean before, but just nearing to the happening of the French Revolution, probably around 1785, 86, 87, 88. How was it? So we are saying that England by 1789 was ruled by George III with Pitt as the Prime Minister. She was a constitutional monarchy with a functional parliament. Now, there is a reason why I'm beginning us here. Having made only that one statement on England, you know why a revolution happened in France. And you know why we state England as one of the factors that caused a revolution, isn't it? We say that England had a functional parliament, they had a constitution, and the Frenchmen admired that, isn't it? So that's why we are saying that at the eve, during the time when things were boiling up to burst into a revolution in France, England was being ruled by George III and Pitt as its prime minister. So she was a constitutional monarchy. However much it was a monarchical government, but they had a constitution with a functional parliament. So George III also granted political liberties and there was religious freedom. This is in England. The economy was the most progressive in Europe. The agrarian and industrial revolution, which started from this same country in 1750, had far-reaching impacts, and these were making a lot of progress. And England was leading Europe in agriculture and industrial productions. This is why she was referred as the workshop of European affairs. You must have heard about that, the workshop of European affairs. Now you know why. We have cleared that question. So no more asking of the question. Altogether, we are saying that Europe was doing very well in both agriculture and industrialization. Because industrialization had started earlier on in England in 1750. Altogether, let us look at Austria-Hungary. Austria was a German state ruled by Habsburg ruling family. She had forged an empire that comprised of different races brought under her control through force and diplomacy. Are we there? Austria-Hungary was ruled by Maria Theresa from 1740 to 1780. She was very popular amongst all races because of her reformist ideas. She is one of the greatest female rulers recorded in history. Maria Theresa was succeeded by her son Joseph II, who ruled Austria from 1780 to 1790. Like his mother, Joseph II was an enlightened despot who embarked on reforms to improve the conditions of his people. For instance, he reduced the influence of the Pope and the Church over state affairs and abolished serfdom within his empire. However, he did not grant religious freedom, political liberties, and social class equality. That is Austria-Hungary. What was happening in Prussia? Prussia was the most powerful of the German states. She rivaled Austria for dominance over the German states. She was ruled by Higginson, Umeya ruling family that was despotic and imperialistic. From 1740 to 1786, Prussia was ruled by Frederick the Great, who was an enlightened despot. He carried Prussia to a very high level during his reign. He modernized agriculture, constructed new canals, and encouraged the industrial development by subsidizing industrialists. He allowed religious freedom and was prepared to allow Muslims to come to Prussia so long as they could contribute to the development of his country. He kept in touch with the common man through tours and occasionally plowed the field physically to boost the morale of farmers. So Frederick the Great died in 1786 and was succeeded by Frederick William, who was weak-minded and undecided ruler. He developed hostility towards Austria and Russia. He, however, enjoyed the strong foundation laid by Frederick the Great. Let's see Russia. I don't know whether you're following. She was the biggest state of Europe, I think, up to now. She had ever been strong since the reign of Peter the Great, 1786, 1825. On the eve of the French Revolution, she was ruled by Catherine II. Although she was luxurious and despotic, she was, however, an enlightened despot who gave full attention to state issues and adopted Peter the Great's policy of territorial expansion, which kept Russia high on the map of Europe. For instance, she got the greatest part of Poland and shared between Austria, Prussia, and Russia. Her achievement abroad can be described by her own words that she came to Russia as a poor girl, gave her a lot of dowry, but she repaid it back by giving Russia Azov, Ukraine, and Crimea. Now that is why they are fighting up to today. I think you can see that. However, she granted no religious freedom and political liberties. She had a very big number of serfs. Their conditions were similar to slaves. All the same, her economic policy was reformed in line with the views of encyclopedia, encyclopedists like Diderot. Indeed, she at one time invited Diderot and discussed Russia's economic policy with him. And lastly, let us see what France was. Now let us listen very well. France was ruled by the Bourbon ruling family that reigned for over 400 years. The Bourbon monarchies were very despotic. By 1789, France was ruled by Louis XVI, who was a weak despot. Louis XVI ruled France ruled from 1774 up to 1792. During his reign, there was no functional parliament, constitution, and proper laws. Besides, there were corruption, embezzlement, and extravagance that caused the financial crisis. By 1789, he was over-influenced by his strong-minded queen, Marie Antoinette, who was very unsympathetic to the Frenchmen, since she was an Austrian princess. The clergy and the nobles were privileged at the expense of the peasants and the middle class. However, compared to other parts of Europe, the conditions of the French peasants were better. Let me repeat again. However, compared to other parts of Europe, the conditions of the French peasants were better, and she even had the biggest number of the middle class. It should be noted that even though these countries had many things in common in the political, social, as well as the economic setup, a revolution only happened in France and not any other country in Europe. Yet even the peasants in France lived a better life than those in other countries of Europe. Therefore, it is not a matter of surprise that in 1789, a fundamental change started from France and it extended to other parts of Europe and later to the whole world. The question is, what caused the revolution in France?
lack of the function of parliament.
Yes. No, we are saying that if you look at the kind of life the peasants in France were living, sincerely, you'd rather be a Frenchman than going to Russia. You'd rather be in France than being in Austria. You'd rather be in France than being in Prussia. But what beats our mind is a revolution happened in, and the question is why. Maybe we need to understand what a revolution means, isn't it? A revolution refers to a fundamental change, quote, a change that cannot be reversed. You get it? It can either be political, social, economic, as well as cultural in a society. Revolutions are either gradual, which are often peaceful, or sudden, rapid, where changes are realized with violence or a revolutionary situation. They can be peasantry revolutions or at times organized by the bourgeoisie or middle class groups. With a revolution, two things are always visible, and these are the old features of society are changed fundamentally, either positively or negatively. That is what we call an upside down revolution. You get it? Upside down revolution. When things have been good, but then they change to worse. You get? Because we are saying that there are two things we expect when a revolution is happening. Either we shall clear the old futures and we bring the new futures. That's why it is called a revolution. But those futures can either be positive or negative. Tuyinza okuletawo enkyukakyuka. We can bring in new changes which are not good. Let us take an example of Libya. Libya, during the time of Gaddafi. You know that she was doing well. People were enjoying, doing very well. You know, the government would even, the moment they sense that you've got pregnant, the government starts saving money for that child. You get? Everyone, the government was constructing for every Libyan a house, a modern house. I don't know whether you get it. But when they killed the Gaddafi, that was a fundamental change. We could not bring him back to life, but things happened upside down. The things that were moving on very well, they changed. Right now, Libyans are suffering as if. Anyway, then the second one, new things, fundamental, irreversible changes appear in a society, either for better or for worse. Are you together? Things come into the society, either they can be good or maybe they can be bad or worse. So that is it. Only that a revolution has to happen. Now, the French Revolution, from the above meaning, therefore, the French Revolution refers to the social, political, and economic as well as cultural changes that France experienced from 1789 up to the rise to power of Napoleon Bonaparte in 1799. It began as a peaceful peasantry political demonstration on the 5th of May 1789, but later took a violent dimension, that is from 1792, and involved the social and the economic structures as well. At first, it was just, a mere demonstration. Okay, we shall not come. Let us go this way, isn't it? Okay, let us organize our own meeting. But from 1789, the moment it crossed 1792, the French Revolution had turned violent. It even got a new name, the Reign of Terror. Isn't it? And we are saying that it involved the social and economic structures as well. It was affecting not just the political, but also the social and the economic. The revolution was staged by the peasants and the middle class against the privileged nobles and the clergy. Now, this one takes us back again. Why were the peasants revolt? Why didn't the peasants of Russia, Prussia, Austria revolt? But it is the peasants of the French or France that revolted. Yes? Yes, they had better standards compared to any other peasants in Europe. Are we there? This is why the Marxist followers looked at it as a class struggle. This is in most cases, some people look at the French Revolution as just a struggle because of class influence. You get it? This is Karl Marx, by the way. Now, to Karl Marx, I tried to give you a glimpse about Karl Marx's understanding of the society yesterday. You get? For him, he says, no. Always people revolt because they don't have what others have. That is him. That's why in religion he said no. People pray because they are very poor. So they want to be like those ones. They think that there is a spirit that gives those ones riches and wealth. That is him. So that is why to Karl Marx, he thinks that the happening of the French Revolution was because of class struggle. Are we together? If this is true, we shall soon find out. So it was just a class struggle between the unprivileged, the peasants, and the bourgeoisie, the middle class, against the privileged nobles, the second estate, and the clergy, the first estate. So the French Revolution of 1789 can therefore categorized in three stages. Number one, I don't know whether you're noting these very important stages. The first stage was from from 5th May 1789 to, I'm saying the French Revolution of 1789 can be categorized into three main stages. These are, number one, the first stage was from 5th May 1789 up to 1791. 1791 up to 1791. So we are saying the first one from 1789 to 1791. In brackets, up to the death of Mirabeau. You remember that. Now that is what we call the peaceful stage. The peaceful, yes, the peaceful stage. 1789, May 1789 to 1791. And in brackets up to the death of Mirabeau, which is generally a peaceful state. So why is it peaceful? Why are we saying that the first stage of the French Revolution was a peaceful one? Because Mirabeau was still there. And for him, he was a diplomatic man. He wanted a fundamental change to happen in France, but coming from peaceful ways. That is why he could at times try to involve. Please, the people want this. Let us do this. Isn't it?
That's what I get.
He was, you know, he could come to the peasants and tell them, people, we don't need to, this is what we need to do. You get, then he comes back. But these people want this. Let us respond. Let us, you get. But when he died in 1791, he left the revolution in the hands
See myself going like that.
I don't know. Anyway, let us say number two, the second stage was from 1792 to 1794. Are we there? 1792 to 1794, which was characterized by violence. Which was characterized by violence, i.e., the reign of terror. The reign of terror. Now, this was the second phase, the second stage of the French Revolution. And my dear, if all revolutions were like this one, this second stage, I'm telling you, even the Frenchmen could have reached a moment and regretted why they staged the revolution. But it was too late, isn't it? There is no way we could reverse it. The revolution became very hot at the second stage. We are going to assess some of the reasons why the second stage happened the way it was. And the first one, or the first point we are going to make, was the death of. That is why revolution became very hot and violent. And the third stage was from 1795 to 1799 and 99. The third stage was from 1795 to 1799, led by the directorate government, led by the directorate or directorate government, led by the directorate government, the directorate government, to the rise of Napoleon, to the rise of Napoleon, to the rise of Napoleon, to the rise of Napoleon. So then, if we can reach 1799, then we shall call off the French Revolution. That's when we shall agree that indeed this revolution was an event that started modern European history, or no. Anyway, these phases or stages were marked by a number of events which aimed at solving political, social, as well as economic problems that had sparked off the revolution in 1789. That is it. NB, after studying the French Revolution, no, let's not read that. The causes of the French Revolution. So we have now started the French Revolution, isn't it? I've now found where you began from, isn't it? But what we have made, I I don't know whether it has been helpful. Has it been helpful? Has it been helpful? I'm asking. Has it been helpful? Now, I don't know whether it has cleared the skies already. Because in most cases, we would just bump into things. The French Revolution, isn't it? Causes of the revolution. It was caused by the despotic, isn't it? Come on, that is it. But despotism was not only in France. Even in Russia, there was despotism. But why did the revolution happen only in? Good morning. The most interesting part, that even the peasants who started this revolution, they were doing very well. Just imagine. They were doing very well, but they staged the revolution. I think that is why we are going to be questioning, asking ourselves, sincerely speaking, what happened in France that it experienced a revolution. The French Revolution was not caused by one factor. It was rather a product of many forces or factors, which had different but important magnitudes in causing the revolution in 1789. That is one. Now, a good historian can make that assumption wherever they meet a question of discuss the causes of the French Revolution. Isn't it? We are saying that each factor had a magnitude. You get it? We are saying we cannot ignore its worth towards causing a revolution. It never contributing just 1 centimeter. At least it is very important that 1 centimeter it contributed led to the outbreak of the revolution. Are we together now? It was caused by both longer term factors, which can be traced down to the 17th century, and the immediate factors that went up to the late 18th century. Are we there? By 1789, the socio-political and economic conditions in France had outlived its usefulness, and this made a revolution inevitable. Now, there is always that question. The French Revolution was inevitable. Discuss. Are we together? Good morning. We are saying that if you look at the social, political, as well as economic conditions in France, they had outlived their usefulness. Are we there? They had outlived, they had expired. In simple terms, the conditions had expired. Maybe that is why a revolution had to happen. By 1789, the social, political, and economic conditions in France had outlived its usefulness, and this made the revolution inevitable. A great historian, Peacock, once put it that conditions in society must be very bad for men in large numbers to undertake its overthrow by violence. Now that is Peacock. He's one of historians, and he's a historian anyway, and he writes historical books. So when he's writing about a revolution, not specifically the French Revolution, any revolution, he says that the conditions in a society must be very bad. That is when men can think about coming up to overtake them. Now the question is, this is personal. Do you think the conditions in our country have worsened to the point that we need a revolution? Don't answer that. Ask yourself. No, but that is peacock. These are not my words. Maybe this is what the French did in 1789. Although the revolution was caused by a number of factors, it is worth observing that the contribution of these factors varied in degree and magnitude.